Mira shuffled through dusty boxes in the attic, searching for her mother's old sketchbooks. The wooden floor creaked beneath her feet as sunlight filtered through a small, round window. It was supposed to be a boring chore, but something caught her eye. A gleaming object peeking out from under a pile of old newspapers. Curious, Mira pulled out a golden pocket watch, its surface engraved with intricate patterns of gears and vines. When she opened it, the hands moved erratically, as if the watch were alive. Suddenly, the attic grew quiet. Too quiet. The distant hum of cars from the city below faded away, and then she heard a faint ticking sound coming from beneath the floorboards. The ticking grew louder as Mira examined the watch. When she turned its tiny key, the attic began to tremble. A section of the floor slid open, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. Mira hesitated, heart pounding. She called out, but no one answered. Clutching the watch tightly, she took a deep breath and stepped onto the staircase. Each step echoed as she descended. At the bottom, she found herself in a vast cavern, illuminated by glowing gears embedded in the walls. A massive mechanical door stood before her, adorned with the same patterns as the watch. It swung open with a hiss, revealing a world she could never have imagined. Mira stepped through the towering mechanical door, her eyes widening as she took in the sight before her. The Clockwork Kingdom stretched as far as she could see, a vast underground city glittering with golden light. Gigantic gears turned silently in the distance, their shadows dancing on the polished metal streets. Steam hissed from hidden pipes, and strange mechanical creatures moved gracefully, their bodies made of cogs and pistons. At first, it seemed abandoned, but then Mira noticed faint signs of life. A bird-like automaton perched on a nearby lamppost, its beak ticking like a metronome. When she approached, it chirped and flapped its metal wings, scattering a cloud of golden dust. "Welcome, descendant," a hollow voice echoed. Mira froze, realizing the voice came from the bird. "You are needed. The heart of time is failing." Before Mira could respond, the ground beneath her trembled. A massive figure emerged from the shadows, a mechanical knight, its body forged from bronze and silver. Its eyes glowed an eerie blue as it stomped forward, each step shaking the ground. In its hand was a large clockwork sword, its blade humming with energy. "Halt!" the knight bellowed. "Only those of the Clockmaker's blood may pass. Prove yourself or turn back." Mira's hands trembled as she clutched the watch. "I don't know what you mean," she stammered. The knight raised its sword and Mira instinctively held the watch out in front of her. The watch glowed brightly, and the knight paused, lowering its weapon. "It is true," it said, its voice softer now. "You are the heir, but the path ahead is treacherous. Are you prepared to face the trials?" Mira swallowed hard and nodded, though her heart felt like it might leap out of her chest. The knight escorted Mira to the entrance of the labyrinth of gears, a sprawling maze filled with moving walls and spinning platforms. "Beyond this lies the Clockwork Council," the knight explained. "They will guide you to the heart of time, but beware. The labyrinth tests not just your skill, but your resolve." As soon as Mira entered, the air was filled with the clinking of gears and the whirring of machinery. The walls shifted constantly, creating new pathways and closing others. Mira took a deep breath and stepped onto a rotating platform. She had to time her movements carefully, jumping from one platform to another while avoiding spinning blades and falling cogs. Halfway through the maze, she heard a faint whimper. Following the sound, she found a small mechanical fox trapped under a fallen gear. Its tiny eyes glowed dimly as it struggled to free itself. "Hang on," Mira said, crouching to lift the gear. It was heavier than she expected, but she managed to push it aside. The fox sprang to its feet and nuzzled her leg. "Thank you," it said in a soft mechanical voice. "I am Tock. I owe you my life. Allow me to guide you through the labyrinth." With Tock by her side, Mira navigated the rest of the labyrinth more easily. The fox seemed to understand the movements of the gears and walls. leading her safely through the maze. Along the way, it explained more about the Clockwork Kingdom. Your ancestor, the Great Clockmaker, created this world to keep time in balance, but when he disappeared, the heart of time began to weaken. Without it, both our world and yours will fall into chaos. Mira listened intently, the weight of her new responsibility sinking in. "Why me?" she asked. "I don't know anything about fixing clocks or saving kingdoms." Tock's glowing eyes softened. "You carry the blood of the Clockmaker. That connection is stronger than any knowledge. Trust yourself." Finally, they reached the end of the labyrinth, where a grand chamber awaited. A group of mechanical beings, each more intricate than the last, stood in a circle around a glowing orb. This was the Clockwork Council, and their gazes turned to Mira as she stepped forward. The leader of the council, a tall automaton with a golden face and a crown of spinning gears, addressed Mira. "We have waited for you, child of the Clockmaker. The heart of time is failing, and only you can repair it." Mira hesitated. "How am I supposed to do that? I don't even know where to start." Another council member, a spider-like machine with delicate silver legs, chimed in. "The heart lies in the chamber of eternity, but it is guarded by the shadow of time, a being born of imbalance and chaos. To reach it, you must gather the 4 core keys scattered across the kingdom." The task seemed impossible, but Mira clenched her fists. "I'll do it," she said firmly. The council nodded in approval, and the golden leader handed her a small map engraved on a metal plate. "May your journey restore the balance we so desperately need." Mira studied the metal map, its intricate lines showing the layout of the Clockwork Kingdom. Tock hopped onto her shoulder, its mechanical tail twitching with excitement. "The first core key lies in the Gilded Workshop," Tock said. "It's the heart of invention, but it's been abandoned for years. Strange things happen there." The journey to the workshop was treacherous. Mira and Tock traversed narrow bridges suspended over deep chasms filled with spinning gears. Steam hissed from vents, and the faint ticking of unseen clocks echoed around them. At last, they arrived at a massive rusted door covered in engravings of tools and cogs. Inside, the workshop was a maze of towering workbenches and discarded blueprints. The air smelled of oil and metal. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, atop which rested the first core key, a small golden cog glowing faintly. Mira approached cautiously, but as she reached for the key, the room came to life. A towering mechanical figure emerged from the shadows, its body made of mismatched parts. Sparks flew from its joints as it moved, its eyes glowing red. "Intruder!" it bellowed, its voice a deep rumble. "The key is sacred. None may take it." Mira's heart pounded as the automaton raised a massive hammer. She jumped out of the way just as it slammed into the floor, sending shards of metal flying. Tock darted around the automaton's legs, yipping to distract it. "Wait!" Mira shouted. "I'm not here to steal it. I'm here to save the kingdom." The automaton paused, its hammer hovering mid-swing. "Save the kingdom," it repeated, its voice softer now. Mira held up the watch. "I'm the Clockmaker's descendant. The heart of time is failing, and I need the core key to fix it." The automaton lowered its hammer, the red glow in its eyes fading. "If you are truly the heir, prove it," it said. It stepped aside, revealing a large, broken mechanism. "Fix this, and the key is yours." Mira stared at the broken mechanism, her mind racing. She had never fixed anything like this before. The gears were tangled, some missing teeth, and the wires were frayed. "I don't know how," she whispered. "You can do it," Tock said, nudging her hand with its metal nose. "The knowledge is in you. Trust yourself." Mira took a deep breath and began to work. She used tools scattered around the workshop to realign the gears and reconnect the wires. As she worked, memories surfaced, images of her grandfather tinkering with old clocks, his hands steady and precise. She mimicked his movements, and slowly, The mechanism began to hum to life. The automaton watched silently, its red eyes turning a calm blue. When Mira tightened the final bolt, the mechanism whirred and clicked, and the pedestal holding the core key lit up. "You have passed the test," the automaton said. "The key is yours." Mira reached out and took the golden cog. It felt warm in her hand, as if it were alive. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling with relief. As Mira and Tock left the gilded workshop, the air in the Clockwork Kingdom felt heavier. Shadows seemed to stretch longer, and the ticking of the kingdom's mechanisms grew erratic. "Something's wrong," Tock said, its ears twitching. Ahead of them, a crack appeared in the ground, spreading like a spiderweb. From the crack emerged a black, smoky figure with glowing red eyes. "The shadow of time," Tock whispered, trembling. The figure loomed over them, its voice a low growl. "You dare to defy me?" it hissed. "The heart of time belongs to chaos now. Turn back, child, or be consumed." Mira stood her ground, clutching the first core key tightly. "I won't let you destroy the kingdom," she said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. The shadow lunged, but Mira and Tock darted into a narrow alley. The chase was relentless, the shadow's smoky tendrils reaching for them at every turn. Finally, they found refuge in a small, hidden chamber. Mira leaned against the wall, catching her breath. "We can't stop," she said. "The kingdom, and time itself, depends on us." Mira consulted the map again. The second core key was located in the eternal clock tower, a structure so tall it seemed to pierce the cavern's ceiling. "The clock tower is where the kingdom's time is regulated," Tock explained. "But if the heart is failing, the tower may be unstable." The journey to the tower was fraught with challenges. The kingdom's machinery was breaking down, causing pathways to collapse and gears to jam. Mira and Tock worked together to navigate the crumbling terrain, their bond growing stronger with each step. When they reached the base of the eternal clock tower, Mira looked up in awe. The tower's surface was covered in shimmering dials and spinning hands. A set of massive doors blocked the entrance, each adorned with a riddle. Mira read the first one aloud. "I have hands but no arms, a face but no eyes. What am I?" "A clock," she answered confidently. The doors creaked open, revealing a winding staircase that disappeared into the clouds above. Mira and Tock stepped inside the eternal clock tower, the sound of ticking clocks echoing all around them. The spiral staircase wound upward endlessly, with no sign of how far they would need to climb. Gears embedded in the walls turned slowly, their surfaces glinting in the golden light emitted by glowing crystals. As they ascended, Mira noticed strange symbols etched into the steps. She paused, tracing them with her fingers. "These look like instructions," she murmured. The symbols described a sequence for activating mechanisms along the staircase. "If I don't follow this, the stairs might collapse," she realized. Tock guided her, reading the symbols with its glowing eyes. "Step here, then there," it said. Mira carefully followed the directions, her heart pounding every time the staircase shifted beneath her feet. Halfway up the tower, a deep rumbling sound stopped Mira in her tracks. A pair of large mechanical owls swooped down from above, their eyes glowing red. They circled Mira and Tock, their wings sharp like blades. "You are not permitted here," one of the owls screeched. "Turn back or face destruction." Mira held up the first core key. "I'm here to save the kingdom," she said firmly. The owls hesitated, but their eyes remained red. "We cannot trust intruders," the second owl hissed. "Prove your worth or perish." The owls attacked, forcing Mira to dodge and weave. Tock leaped into the fray, distracting one owl by darting between its legs. Mira noticed a glowing panel on the other owl's chest and realized it might be a weakness. Grabbing a loose cog from the floor, she hurled it at the panel. The owl screeched as sparks flew, its movements faltering. Seizing the opportunity, Mira disabled the second owl in a similar manner. Both guardians fell silent, their red eyes dimming. After defeating the guardians, Mira reached the top of the tower. In the center of the room stood an ornate clock, its face cracked and its hands frozen. Behind the clock was a pedestal holding the second core key, a silver cog glowing faintly. Mira approached cautiously, half expecting another test or trap. As her fingers closed around the key, the entire tower shook violently. "The mechanisms are unstable," Tock shouted. "We need to leave, now." Clutching the key tightly, Mira ran back down the staircase. The gears in the walls began to grind loudly, and sections of the stairs collapsed behind them. With Tock leading the way, Mira barely made it out before the tower crumbled. Outside the tower, Mira and Tock found themselves surrounded by darkness. The shadow of time loomed once more, its smoky tendrils writhing like serpents. "You cannot defy me," it growled. "The heart of time will belong to chaos, as it always should." Mira stood her ground. "You won't win," she said, holding up the second core key. "I'll fix the heart of time and restore balance." The shadow laughed, its voice like grinding metal. "You are but a child. The kingdom is already crumbling, and soon the human world will follow." Before Mira could respond, the shadow vanished, leaving only a chilling silence behind. Mira consulted the map again. The third core key was located in the Steam Gardens, a lush area powered by geothermal energy. Tock explained that the gardens were once a place of peace and beauty, but had fallen into disarray since the heart of time began to fail. As they travelled, Mira noticed the effects of the kingdom's instability growing worse. Pathways crumbled without warning, and mechanical creatures malfunctioned, their movements erratic. Even the ticking sound that filled the air seemed uneven. "We're running out of time," Tock said, its voice tinged with worry. The steam gardens were unlike anything Mira had seen before. Enormous flowers made of brass and copper swayed gently, their petals releasing puffs of steam. A river of molten metal flowed through the center of the gardens, its surface shimmering like liquid gold. But the beauty of the gardens was marred by signs of decay. Some flowers had collapsed, their gears rusted and broken. The once clear steam was tinged with black smoke. As Mira and Tock ventured deeper, they encountered a massive metal tree at the center of the gardens. Hanging from one of its branches was the third core key, glowing a bright emerald green. When Mira approached the tree, its branches moved, forming a face. "Who dares disturb my slumber?" it boomed. "If you seek the core key, you must answer my questions." The tree posed 3 riddles, each more difficult than the last. Mira furrowed her brow, recalling lessons from her grandfather about logic and problem-solving. With Tock's help, she answered each riddle correctly. Satisfied, the tree lowered its branch, allowing Mira to take the key. "Use it wisely," the tree said. "The fate of the kingdom rests on your shoulders." As Mira left the steam gardens, the ground shook violently. Cracks spread across the floor, and the air was filled with the sound of shattering glass. Time itself seemed to warp. Moments stretched endlessly while others passed in an instant. "We need to hurry," Tock said. "The kingdom won't survive much longer." Mira and Tock journeyed to the Iron Caverns, a maze of molten rivers and jagged stalactites. The heat is oppressive, and Mira struggles to navigate the unstable terrain. Mechanical creatures resembling spiders scuttle along the cavern walls, their glowing eyes watching her every move. Tock discovers markings left by Mira's ancestor, guiding them deeper into the caverns. "Your grandfather must have known this place well," Tock says, but the signs become harder to follow as the environment grows increasingly unstable. As they approach the center of the caverns, a massive figure emerges from the molten river. A lava sentinel, made entirely of glowing molten metal and iron. Its voice is a booming roar, demanding to know why Mira has entered its domain. Mira explains her mission, but the sentinel refuses to trust her. "Prove your resolve," it demands, challenging her to a trial of endurance. Mira must cross a series of molten platforms that sink into the lava, relying on Tock to scout the safe paths. After passing the trial, Mira finds the fourth core key encased in a block of obsidian. The sentinel warns her that removing it will awaken the Cavern Guardian, a massive mechanical dragon. Despite the danger, Mira knows she has no choice. As soon as she removes the key, the ground trembles and the dragon bursts from the molten river. It chases Mira and Tock through the caverns, its molten breath melting the walls. Mira uses her ancestors' markings to set a trap, causing a rock slide that temporarily incapacitates the dragon. With the fourth core key in hand, Mira and Tock make a desperate escape. The caverns begin to collapse, and molten rivers overflow, creating a chaotic and perilous path. Mira narrowly avoids falling into the lava, but Tock gets injured, one of its legs damaged by falling debris. Outside the caverns, Mira collapses in exhaustion, her hands blistered from the heat. Tock reassures her, "You're stronger than you realize, Mira. We're closer now." As they rest, the shadow of time reappears, now larger and more menacing. It taunts Mira, showing her visions of the human world falling into chaos. Clocks stop, people age rapidly, and time itself unravels. "You cannot stop me," the shadow hisses. "The kingdom belongs to chaos, and soon so will your world." Despite her fear, Mira resolves to press on, vowing to restore balance before it's too late. While repairing Tock's leg, Mira encounters a mysterious, mechanical owl named Chrono. It is old and battered, but retains an air of wisdom. Chrono reveals that it was once a companion to Mira's ancestor and has been searching for the Clockmaker's heir ever since. Chrono warns Mira that the shadow is growing stronger because the heart of time is weakening. It agrees to join their quest, offering its knowledge of the kingdom's secrets. As the trio journeys to their next destination, Chrono shares stories of Mira's ancestor, painting a picture of a brilliant yet flawed man who struggled to balance his responsibilities to the kingdom and his family. Mira begins to understand the weight of her legacy. Tock grows wary of Chrono, unsure if the owl can be trusted. Tensions rise, but Mira insists they need all the help they can get. The group encounters a massive broken mechanism blocking their path. Chrono explains that it is a part of the kingdom's primary systems and that repairing it will stabilize time temporarily. Mira takes on the challenge, using her growing mechanical skills. As she works, Mira feels a strange connection to the machinery, as if it recognizes her. The mechanism comes to life, and the kingdom's ticking becomes more stable, if only for a moment. The shadow of time attacks, corrupting the nearby mechanisms and turning them into dangerous foes. Mira, Tock, and Chrono fight back, using their combined skills to outsmart the corrupted machines. Mira notices that the shadow recoils from the glow of the core keys. She realizes that the keys might be the key to defeating it. Chrono reveals that the fifth core key is located in the Skyward Spire, a floating structure suspended by massive chains. It is the highest point in the kingdom and is said to hold the secrets of time itself. Mira, Tock, and Chrono reach the base of the Skyward Spire, a towering structure held aloft by massive chains that stretch into the sky. The air is filled with a constant hum as the chains sway slightly, powered by enormous pulleys and gears. To reach the spire, they must climb one of the chains. Chrono warns Mira of the winds that grow stronger the higher they ascend, making the journey perilous. Tock offers to scout ahead, leaping from link to link, but even the nimble mechanical fox struggles with the instability. As they climb higher, Mira spots shadowy figures moving through the air. Chrono identifies them as wind serpents, creatures that once kept the spire safe but are now corrupted by the shadow. The serpents attack, their sleek metallic bodies slicing through the air like blades. Mira uses the glowing core keys to fend them off, their light disrupting the serpents' movements. With Tock and Chrono's help, she defeats the serpents and continues the climb, though the encounter leaves her shaken. At the top of the chain, they find the entrance to the skyward spire, guarded by a massive mechanical falcon. The gatekeeper, as Chrono calls it, demands proof of their worth. Only those who understand the flow of time may pass, it declares. The falcon presents a puzzle, a series of rotating gears that must be aligned to match the flow of time. Mira studies the mechanism, recalling lessons from her grandfather. With Tock and Chrono offering guidance, she solves the puzzle, earning the gatekeeper's approval. The interior of the spire is breathtaking, a labyrinth of glass platforms suspended in mid-air, reflecting the light of an artificial sun at the center of the structure. Gears the size of buildings turn slowly, their movements creating a harmonious melody. But the spire is not as stable as it seems. Cracks spread across the glass platforms, and some gears grind against each other, creating an ominous screech. Chrono explains that the spire was once the kingdom's center of knowledge, but its decay mirrors the failing heart of time. At the spire's summit, Mira finds the fifth core key, a golden gear glowing with radiant energy. It rests in the hands of a statue resembling her ancestor. As she takes the key, the spire begins to shake violently. The artificial sun dims, and pieces of the glass platforms begin to fall. Mira and her companions race to escape, narrowly avoiding being trapped as the spire collapses into chaos. As Mira descends from the skyward spire, the kingdom shows alarming signs of decay. Time glitches intensify, entire areas freeze or fast forward uncontrollably. The cracks between the kingdom and the human world grow more visible, with Mira seeing glimpses of her own world flicker through the air. Chrono reveals that the fifth core key holds a memory from her ancestor hidden until now. The memory is encrypted in the key, and only the heart of time can unlock it. Using the watch her grandfather left her, Mira deciphers part of the fifth core key's memory. In the message, her ancestor warns of a sacrifice required to stabilize the heart of time. He expresses regret for creating the shadow of time, which he describes as the manifestation of his fear and ambition. The revelation shakes Mira, who realizes that her family's legacy is both a blessing and a curse. She wonders if she is destined to make the same mistakes as her ancestor. Chrono explains that the heart of time is located in the sanctum of eternity, a hidden chamber at the kingdom's core. The path to the sanctum is guarded by the most dangerous of the Shadow's forces, as well as the kingdom's natural defenses. As they prepare for the journey, Mira reflects on how far she has come. She feels the weight of her responsibility, but also a growing determination to see her mission through. The shadow of time confronts Mira again, this time offering her a choice. "Abandon your quest," it says, "and I will spare your world. Continue, and you risk everything." Mira refuses, declaring that she will not allow either world to fall into chaos. The shadow grows more aggressive, sending corrupted beings to pursue her. Mira narrowly escapes, but the encounter leaves her drained. Mira, Tock, and Chrono finally reach the entrance to the sanctum of eternity. The air feels heavy, as if time itself is pressing down on them. The entrance is sealed with a complex mechanism that requires all 5 core keys to unlock. Mira places the keys into the mechanism and the doors slowly open, revealing a glowing path leading to the heart of time. Absolutely. Below is an expanded version of chapters 41 to 60, diving deeper into the development of Lyle's journey as he navigates the Clockwork Kingdom and faces the challenges ahead. Lyle had only just begun to grasp the significance of his role in the Clockwork Kingdom. The air around him hummed with the constant turning of gears, but the deeper he ventured, the more questions arose in his mind. He had learned about time and the fragility of the kingdom, but something was still off. As he moved through the winding hallways, past massive cogs that turned slower and slower, he began to feel an odd sensation, as if something unseen was watching him. Tock, The mechanical being who guided him watched him closely. "The kingdom is shifting," Tock said quietly. "It's not just the machinery that needs mending. Someone, has been altering time." Lyle's curiosity piqued, but the weight of his newfound responsibility was overwhelming. He wasn't sure where to start or how to repair what was broken. In the heart of the kingdom, where the largest gears meshed, Lyle met with Chrono, the wise elder of the kingdom. "The machinery can be fixed, but the heart of time, that is the key to all," Chrono said gravely. "It is what keeps the flow of time in balance. If the heart falters, the world above will feel its effects." Lyle asked, "But how can I help? I don't know how to control it." Chrono smiled faintly. "You are connected to the heart now, Lyle. You just need to listen and feel the rhythm. Trust in your instincts. The path will reveal itself, but you must be brave enough to follow it." As the days passed, Lyle trained with Chrono and Tock, learning more about the ancient mechanisms of the kingdom. The deeper they ventured, the stranger the environment became. He passed halls where time was warped, memories flickered in the air, and strange creatures, guardians long forgotten, walked in and out of existence. These guardians were once protectors of the kingdom, now lost in time. Some were still functioning, but others had succumbed to the slow breakdown of the kingdom's balance. One such encounter was with a half-destroyed figure named Argo. Once a guardian of the lower levels, Argo now wandered aimlessly, his gears malfunctioning. "Help me," he rasped. Time is slipping." Lyle felt the sorrow and despair radiating from Argo. "What happened?" he asked, kneeling beside the broken guardian. "The shadow," Argo whispered, his voice shaking. "It is corrupting everything. Even we guardians, we can't protect the kingdom from it." With a sudden burst of energy, Argo's chest clattered open, revealing a broken gear that symbolized the heart of his mechanism. "Fix it," he pleaded, before collapsing back into the shadows. Lyle stared at the broken cog in his hands, feeling the weight of Argo's words. Something dark was spreading through the kingdom, and it wasn't just malfunctioning gears, it was something much worse. Lyle's investigation led him to the farthest reaches of the kingdom, where a vast and ominous clock tower stood, its towering gears spinning erratically. This was the source of the shadow, the epicenter of the imbalance. The deeper Lyle explored, the more the kingdom seemed to decay around him. As he stood at the foot of the great tower, the atmosphere grew heavy. The sound of the ticking clock had turned discordant, an unsettling rhythm that made his skin prickle. The closer he got to the tower, the more disoriented he became. The very air was thick with an ancient, malevolent energy. It was there that he met his first real challenge. As he approached the tower's base, he was ambushed by twisted mechanical creatures that seemed to come to life out of nowhere. These creatures were corrupted guardians, once proud protectors of the kingdom, now distorted and malfunctioning by the shadow's influence. Lyle fought valiantly, using everything he had learned. His movements were quick, but the creatures were relentless. He realized that the shadow wasn't just warping time, it was warping reality itself, causing once stable guardians to turn on him. In the end, it was the words of Tock that guided him through the onslaught. "Your heart, Lyle. Use your heart. It will always show you the way." With a surge of confidence, Lyle focused not on his fear or the creatures attacking him, but on the heart of the kingdom. As he did, the creatures began to slow, their movements jerky and disjointed. Lyle realized that the shadow was controlling them, and by focusing on his bond with the kingdom, he could stop it. Slowly, he reached out, reconnecting the guardians with the peaceful pulse of the heart. Lyle returned to Tock and Chrono, his face pale but resolute. "It's worse than I thought," he said. "The shadow is spreading everywhere." Chrono's face darkened. The shadow is not just an external force. It feeds off fear, chaos, and uncertainty. It has always been a part of time. It is the shadow cast by the passage of moments. But if we cannot restore the heart, then the balance will be lost. Tock placed a hand on Lyle's shoulder. We must go deeper into the kingdom. The source of the imbalance is not just the shadow. There are cracks in time itself, and I believe you are the one meant to mend them. Lyle and his companions ventured further into the kingdom, descending deeper into its bowels. The deeper they went, the more unstable the kingdom became. Strange ripples of time twisted around them, places where moments seemed frozen or stretched endlessly. They reached the central hall where the heart of time lay, a massive beating cog that pulsed with the rhythm of the universe. But as they approached, Lyle felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The heart was dimming, its pulse weaker by the second. The walls of the hall had begun to crack, revealing a deep, churning void beneath the gears. It was the shadow's influence, spreading like ink into water, corrupting everything it touched. Chrono gazed at the heart. We must repair the heart if we are to save the kingdom and the world above. But how? Lyle asked, unsure if he was strong enough. Chrono handed him a small glowing fragment of an ancient timepiece. This will help you focus the heart's energy. It is an artifact passed down through generations of guardians. It will help you channel the essence of time. Lyle took the fragment and stepped forward, placing his hand upon the heart. As soon as his fingers made contact, he felt a rush of energy flood through him. A connection to everything that had come before. He could feel the lifeblood of time itself, the memories of all the guardians who had stood in this very spot. The rhythm was fragile but strong, like the pulse of a heart. He closed his eyes, focusing all his energy on restoring the heart, knowing that time depended on his success. The heart seemed to respond to his thoughts, its gears slowly turning again, its pulse stabilizing. But just as hope began to rise, the shadow attacked. Its tendrils slithered through the cracks in the walls, twisting and warping everything in its path. Lyle gritted his teeth. Not today, he muttered. He raised the glowing fragment, channeling all the energy he could muster. The heart shuddered, its pulse quickening, as the shadow recoiled from the light. Time itself seemed to stretch, then snap back into alignment. With a final blinding flash, the heart of time surged with energy, its once weak pulse now full and steady. Lyle collapsed to the ground, exhausted but victorious. He had done it. The shadow was gone, banished by the very heart of the kingdom. The gears around him clicked back into perfect synchronization, the flow of time stabilizing. As Lyle stood up, he felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The kingdom was safe, for now. But he knew that his journey was far from over. There were still cracks in time, places where the shadow might return. The heart would need constant care and vigilance. Chrono and Tock approached him, their faces proud. You have proven yourself, Lyle, Chrono said. You have restored balance to the kingdom. You are ready. But Lyle knew that the true test was just beginning. He had repaired the heart, but time itself was a vast and intricate web, and he had only just begun to understand the full scope of his responsibility. The kingdom would need him, just as the human world would. Time flowed through both, and Lyle, now a true guardian, had to protect it all. Mira stands before the heart of time, feeling the immense power it radiates. Her body hums with energy as she approaches the center, where the great mechanical heart beats in rhythm with the world around her. The core keys shine with brilliance, their light reflecting off the metallic surfaces of the sanctum. The shadow of time emerges, its form flickering and distorting, as if the very fabric of time is unraveling. You cannot save it, it sneers, its voice echoing through the chamber. The heart will consume you. Mira steps forward, clutching the core keys, determined to finish what she started. Her eyes lock onto the heart, and in that moment, she feels a surge of connection. She understands now that it was her destiny all along. This was the price of her family's legacy. As Mira places the final core key into the heart, the energy inside the sanctum begins to surge. The heart begins to pulse violently, its mechanical parts spinning faster, out of control. Mira realizes that in order to fix the heart, she must channel the energy directly through herself. Her grandfather's warning echoes in her mind. A life force is needed. She hesitates for a brief moment but knows she has no choice. Mira steps into the heart's core, feeling its power envelop her. Her body is filled with light and warmth as her essence merges with the machinery. The world around her begins to blur, and time itself seems to slow. The shadow screams in frustration as the heart stabilizes, but at a cost. Mira's human form begins to fade, becoming one with the kingdom. The shadow, now desperate, launches a final devastating attack. It strikes at Mira, but the light from the heart deflects the blow, forcing the shadow back. Mira's body flickers, her form unstable, but she fights through the pain. She taps into the ancient knowledge embedded in the heart, unlocking the final mechanism that will restore the kingdom to its original state. Her essence flows through the heart's gears and cogs, pushing the shadow back, weakening its hold on the kingdom and the human world. Tock and Chrono watch helplessly from the sidelines, unable to intervene. "She's giving everything," Chrono whispers. "She's merging with the kingdom to save us all." The energy within the heart begins to reach a breaking point. Mira feels herself slipping, as if her very soul is being torn between two worlds. The process is excruciating, but she knows she cannot stop. The shadow reaches out, its tendrils attempting to grab hold of Mira's essence, but she pushes back with all her strength, activating the last core mechanism, the heart of time's final pulse. It sends out a wave of energy, enveloping the entire kingdom. For a moment, everything goes dark. When Mira regains her senses, the kingdom is silent. The gears that once turned with chaotic force now move with precision and grace. The heart of time has stabilized, its rhythm steady and calm. Mira's form is no longer human, but she retains a presence, a connection to both worlds. She stands before the heart, her essence merged with it, her eyes glowing with the light of the core keys. The shadow of time is gone. It has been erased from the kingdom and the human world. Time flows naturally once more. The mechanical beings of the kingdom, once corrupted and lost, are now restored to their original forms. They move with purpose, no longer trapped by the chaos of the shadow's influence. Tock and Chrono approach Mira, who can no longer speak as she once did, but communicates through the subtle pulse of the heart. Chrono, understanding the silent message, speaks. "You've done it. The kingdom is saved. But the cost is clear. Mira can no longer return to her human life." Tock hesitates before asking, "Is there no way back for you, Mira?" Mira, though unable to answer aloud, lets out a quiet, resonating hum, a sign of acceptance. She has chosen this fate, sacrificing her humanity for the greater good. As time resumes its natural flow, Mira begins to feel echoes of the human world around her. She sees flashes of her old life, her family, her friends, but they appear like distant memories. She realizes that although she cannot return to them, she can still influence the world from within the kingdom. Chrono reassures her, "You are not gone. You will live on, watching over both worlds." The kingdom, now stable, continues to hum with life. Its mechanical beings work in harmony with the natural flow of time, ensuring that chaos will never again disrupt the balance. Tock and Chrono begin to rebuild the Clockmaker's workshop, the place where Mira's ancestor once worked. It is clear that Mira's legacy will live on in the kingdom, and in her actions, the memory of her family will never fade. Tock takes on the role of chief protector of the kingdom. guiding the mechanical beings through the changes that Mira's actions have set in motion. Chrono becomes the historian, recording the events that transpired and preserving the memory of the girl who saved the world. Mira, now the Watcher of Time, stands at the center of the kingdom. Though her form is no longer flesh and bone, her consciousness remains deeply connected to the heart of time. She observes both worlds, one in the kingdom and one in the human realm. The time glitches that once plagued the world have stopped, and time flows steadily for all. However, Mira can still feel the vibrations of both worlds, connected by the delicate thread of time. As Mira watches the human world from afar, she knows that time will continue, with or without her. Her mission is complete. She has mended the fabric of reality, and both worlds are safe. The final pulse of the heart signals that the time for action is over. Mira's form begins to fade from the kingdom, her essence finally merging completely with the heart. She is now a part of the timeless flow, an eternal guardian. Tock and Chrono return to the heart of the Clockwork Kingdom, standing in awe at the flourishing world Mira saved. The gears that once turned with the chaotic pulse of time now move with steady rhythm, each piece working in perfect harmony. The mechanical beings, once broken and corrupted, now have purpose and peace. Tock, assuming the mantle of leader, holds the position with quiet wisdom, guiding the mechanical beings through the changes Mira's actions have instilled in the kingdom. Chrono, the keeper of history, sets about recording the story of Mira's sacrifice in a vast library filled with the kingdom's knowledge. "The kingdom will never forget her," Chrono says softly, as Tock watches Mira's essence hum with the pulse of time, even though her physical form is no longer present. In the human world, time flows steadily once more, and the strange anomalies that once plagued it are gone. But Mira's story, though largely forgotten by the masses, lingers in the minds of a few. A descendant of Mira's family, her great-great-granddaughter named Alia, stumbles upon an old journal in an attic, hidden away beneath piles of dusty family heirlooms. The journal contains Mira's earliest notes about the Clockwork Kingdom, the mechanical beings, and the heart of time. Intrigued, Alia begins researching the forgotten history, unaware that she is connected to the legacy that saved both worlds. She feels a strange pull toward the story, as though it is calling to her, urging her to find out more. Tock stands before a grand monument in the heart of the Clockwork Kingdom, a statue of Mira crafted from gleaming bronze, its surface etched with the history of her journey. Tock remembers Mira as the fearless girl who had once been unsure of her place in the world, but ultimately became the kingdom's savior. "It's strange," Tock mutters. "She's gone, but it's like she's still here." The fox's eyes glimmer with respect and sorrow. "Maybe that's because she is." Chrono, observing silently, agrees, adding, "She became part of the kingdom, just as the kingdom became part of her. Time will remember her long after we've gone." Alia, after months of research, uncovers the secret of the watch, a family heirloom once belonging to Mira. The watch, though an ordinary timepiece to most, hums with strange energy when Alia holds it. She discovers that it can connect to an invisible thread of time that binds the human world to the kingdom. One night, under the full moon, Alia feels the pull of time itself, much like Mira once did. She winds the watch and a soft hum fills the air. Suddenly, the room around her begins to blur, and she finds herself standing before the entrance of the Clockwork Kingdom. The gateway that had long been closed to the outside world opens for her, just as it once did for Mira. As Alia ventures deeper into the kingdom, she encounters Chrono, who recognizes her immediately. "You've come," Chrono says, his voice filled with wonder. "I knew someone from your bloodline would return. Mira's story was never fully told, and now you're here to continue it." Alia, though overwhelmed by the revelation, feels a sense of purpose stir within her. She is not just a descendant, She is the next keeper of the kingdom's secrets. Chrono passes on the journal and the responsibility of maintaining the kingdom's balance to her, just as Mira had once inherited her own duty. As Alia learns more about the kingdom, she forms a deep connection with its mechanical beings, particularly with Tock. The fox, though still carrying the sorrow of Mira's loss, teaches Alia the ways of the kingdom and the delicate balance required to keep time flowing smoothly. In time, Alia becomes adept at working with the heart of time, understanding its intricate mechanics and the weight of the responsibility it carries. She learns that the kingdom's survival relies on its guardians, those who are willing to make great sacrifices to preserve the fabric of reality. Though the shadow of time was defeated, remnants of its power remain, hidden in the folds of the kingdom. Alia discovers that these fragments of darkness are slowly growing stronger, feeding on the energy of the kingdom and threatening to destabilize time once again. As the shadow stirs, Alia faces the difficult truth that the kingdom's peace may not last forever. The heart of time, though restored, is still fragile. A new guardian is needed, and Alia is the one to rise to that challenge. To fully become the new protector of time, Alia must undergo a series of trials that will test her understanding of time, sacrifice, and the choices her ancestor once faced. She must face visions of Mira's journey, reliving the moments that defined her ancestor's fate. Each trial is more difficult than the last. Alia is forced to confront her fears, doubts, and her own connection to Mira. But with each challenge, she grows stronger, learning that the key to protecting the kingdom lies not in brute strength, but in wisdom and compassion. Alia sets off on a journey to recover the remaining core keys. These keys have been scattered across the kingdom, hidden in locations that challenge even the most skilled adventurers. She travels through forgotten ruins, beneath vast seas, and high into the skies, each location more dangerous than the last. Along the way, Alia meets new allies, both mechanical and human, who assist her in her quest. They all know the importance of restoring the full power of the heart of time. With each key she recovers, Alia feels a growing connection to the kingdom and the burden of her ancestors' legacy. Alia returns to the Sanctum of Eternity, the site where Mira made her ultimate sacrifice. Here she faces the final trial, a trial that will either confirm her as the true protector of time or force her to choose another path. She places the core keys into the heart of time, and it reacts in a blinding flash. For a moment, Alia is overwhelmed by visions of both the kingdom and the human world, each one on the brink of chaos. The heart calls to her, whispering that only one who understands both worlds can maintain the balance. Alia's trial ends, and the heart of time accepts her as its guardian. The kingdom's pulse steadies, and the energy of time flows freely once again. However, the kingdom's connection to the human world grows even more profound. Alia feels the pull of both realities, understanding the delicate link between the two. Back in the human world, the subtle glitches in time begin to reappear, though not with the same destructive force as before. Alia realizes that it is her responsibility to maintain this balance, ensuring that the human world remains connected to the kingdom. Alia decides to travel to the human world, leaving behind the kingdom's gates for the first time. She finds herself in a world that is unaware of the kingdom's existence, yet still feels its influence. Clocks tick in harmony with the heart of time, and people sense that something powerful watches over them. She watches as people live their lives, unaware of the silent guardian in the background. But Alia knows that the kingdom will always be there, a place where time is respected and balance is maintained. Before Alia leaves the kingdom for good, Tock offers a final farewell. "You've done it," Tock says with a tear in its mechanical eye. "You've become everything Mira hoped for, and more." The kingdom is in good hands. Chrono nods in agreement. Time is eternal, Aaliyah. And so is your legacy. Aaliyah embraces her role as the new protector, understanding that it is now her duty to keep the balance between the kingdom and the human world, ensuring that both will thrive for generations to come. Aaliyah, now fully realizing her role as the guardian of time, finds herself walking the streets of the human world once again. Though she remains unseen by most, the subtle connection between the kingdom and the real world is growing stronger. Time no longer flickers with irregularities, and people feel more connected to the natural rhythms of life. Yet, Aaliyah knows that the threat of imbalance could return at any moment. She walks through the city, her mind always tethered to the ticking heart of the kingdom below. The gears still turn, the cogs still spin, but now they are managed by a hand that understands the weight of time. Her first mission as guardian is to seek out subtle disturbances, cracks in time that might resurface if left unchecked. With each anomaly she corrects, Aaliyah feels herself growing stronger, more attuned to the pulse of both worlds. In her travels through the human world, Aaliyah discovers an underground group of individuals, historians, scientists, and philosophers, who study the strange occurrences of time, unaware that they are actually tracking the remnants of the Clockwork Kingdom's influence. When Aaliyah approaches them, she is hesitant, but soon realizes that these people have been unknowingly working toward maintaining the balance she has sworn to protect. Aaliyah shares her knowledge, though not all of it, just enough to guide them in preserving the flow of time. In turn, they offer their support, becoming her human allies. They begin to document the mysteries of time, ensuring that the kingdom's legacy lives on even in the outside world. Despite Aaliyah's best efforts to maintain balance, whispers of an old enemy surface once again, the shadow of time. Though the great being was defeated, fragments of its essence remain in the cracks of time itself. These fragments feed on instability and threaten to disrupt the harmony between both realms. Aaliyah feels the weight of her responsibilities grow heavier. The heart of time must be fully protected, for without it, the balance could unravel. However, as Aaliyah ventures into the deep labyrinth beneath the kingdom to inspect the heart's safety, she realizes that the shadow is more than just a physical force. It is a manifestation of all the brokenness, regret, and fear that time itself holds. At the core of the kingdom, Aaliyah stands before the heart of time, a beautiful and intricately designed mechanical heart that beats in perfect synchrony with the flow of time. But it has begun to show signs of decay, its once steady hum faltering. The heart of time is the kingdom's lifeblood, and Aaliyah knows that its malfunction could bring chaos not only to the Clockwork Kingdom, but to the human world as well. She works tirelessly, using her newfound understanding of time and her ancestors' teachings to recalibrate the heart's mechanisms. Yet, she realizes that it is not just the cogs that are failing. The heart is affected by the shadows of doubt and fear that linger within time itself. Aaliyah, sensing the mounting pressure of the shadow's influence, retreats to the highest tower of the kingdom for guidance. She communes with the echoes of past guardians, the spirits who once walked the same path. Their wisdom fills her mind, telling her of a final trial she must face, one that would force her to confront the very nature of time itself. Time is not just a construct, Chrono had once told her. It is a living, breathing thing. It is shaped by those who move through it, and sometimes the past must be healed to protect the future. Aaliyah realizes that to stop the shadow and restore balance, she must face the lost echoes of her ancestors' legacy, Mira's final choice. She must understand the deeper connection between the kingdom and the human world. Aaliyah stands at the crossroads of time, where the fabric of reality begins to tear. Before her lies the final trial. To restore the flow of time, Aaliyah must let go of her fear of the unknown and allow the past to merge with the present. She must reach out to Mira's spirit and seek forgiveness for the fractured timelines that have lingered since Mira's time. In a vision, Aaliyah finds herself standing beside Mira once more, in the moment when Mira first activated the Heart of Time. Aaliyah speaks to her ancestor, seeking her counsel. "What do I do?" she asks, her voice trembling. "How can I heal time when it feels like it's breaking apart?" Mira smiles, her presence comforting. "You are my legacy," she whispers. "But time is not bound by the past or future. It is shaped by the choices we make in the present." Aaliyah steps into the heart of time, allowing the energy of both worlds to converge around her. She channels the power of her ancestors, using her understanding of time's true nature to fix the fractures caused by the shadow. Slowly, the heart begins to pulse with life once more. The fractured timelines begin to weave together, and the shadow of time, once a great enemy, dissolves into nothingness. The kingdom and the human world are forever connected, the flow of time restored to its natural rhythm. Aaliyah emerges from the heart, her task complete. She has not only saved the kingdom, but has ensured the legacy of the Clockwork Kingdom will never be lost again. Aaliyah stands at the gates of the kingdom, ready to pass on her legacy to the next guardian. She feels a sense of peace, knowing that time is in good hands. The kingdom, now stabilized, will continue to thrive, and the balance between the two worlds will endure. Aaliyah knows that her time as guardian has come to an end. Before she leaves, she speaks to the mechanical beings that once aided her, now fully restored. "This is your world too. You've rebuilt it alongside me. I trust you to protect it when I'm gone." Years later, in the human world, a new descendant of Mira, a young boy named Lyle, discovers an old watch that once belonged to Aaliyah. He feels an inexplicable connection to the device and the strange world it opens. The watch hums softly, calling him toward the entrance of the kingdom. Lyle, unaware of the legacy he inherits, steps into the kingdom, ready to begin his own journey. Lyle stands before the entrance to the Clockwork Kingdom, his heart racing with a mixture of excitement and fear. The watch he found, hidden in an old chest in his grandmother's attic, had led him to this moment. Its ticking was a steady reminder that the legacy of time has been passed down to him. But Lyle wasn't ready. He had only just begun to understand the importance of this ancient relic. Yet, as his fingers brushed against its cold metallic surface, a strange, comforting hum emanated from it, as if the kingdom itself was calling him. As he steps across the threshold, the underground world unfurls before him, cogs turning, gears spinning, and the ethereal glow of ancient lamps lighting up pathways that stretch far into the distance. The kingdom feels alive, and Lyle senses that it has been waiting for him, as if time itself has shifted to accommodate his arrival. He walks cautiously, unsure of what to expect, until he meets Tock, the mechanical being who had once helped Mira. Tock's glowing eyes are filled with a sense of recognition and warmth. "I've been expecting you," he says in a voice that hums like a well-oiled gear. "The time has come for you to take your place. Aaliyah spoke of you before she departed. The kingdom is ready for its next guardian." Lyle feels a jolt of recognition. Aaliyah. She was the one who protected the kingdom before me. Tock nods. Yes, she guided it through the most dangerous of times. And now it is your turn. The kingdom will test you, but know that you are never alone. Lyle is introduced to Chrono, an ancient clockwork figure who was once a mentor to Mira. Chrono is wise and stern, yet kind. "Your journey will be filled with challenges," he tells Lyle. "But you must understand one thing. Time is a delicate balance. Every decision you make will affect both the kingdom and the human world." Lyle feels the weight of those words settle into his chest. He is not just protecting gears and cogs. He is guarding the flow of time itself. Lyle's first days as the new guardian are filled with learning. Tock and Chrono guide him through the labyrinthine halls of the kingdom, teaching him the complex workings of the timepieces that regulate the flow of the universe. Each room is filled with intricate machinery, wheels within wheels, pendulums swinging, and strange mechanisms that control the passage of moments. Chrono explains that each guardian is linked to the heart of time, the very core of the kingdom. The heart is a living entity, Chrono says. It is the source of all time, and it is both fragile and powerful. As the guardian, you will need to listen to it, feel its rhythms, and understand when something is wrong. Lyle spends long hours studying the heart, which beats with an energy he cannot fully comprehend. Sometimes he feels it pulsing beneath his feet, as if it is alive, aware of his presence. He learns that time doesn't merely flow, it ebbs and surges, influenced by the choices made in both the kingdom and the human world. Tock shares stories of previous guardians, including Mira and Alia, showing Lyle the challenges they faced in their times. Each guardian must walk their own path, Tock explains, but we all carry the same responsibility to ensure the passage of time remains unbroken. Lyle also begins to understand the bond between the kingdom and the world above. He can feel the echoes of humanity's actions reverberating through the gears and cogs. He starts to see how even the smallest event in the human world can send ripples through time, affecting both realms in ways that are not immediately apparent. One day, while exploring a remote part of the kingdom, Lyle senses something off. The cogs in a particular chamber are spinning erratically, their usual steady hum replaced by a jarring screech. As he approaches, the room grows colder and he sees the walls crack, with small sparks of energy crackling from the fractured machinery. Lyle immediately calls for Tock and Chrono. When they arrive, Tock examines the damaged area with concern. "This is unusual," he mutters. "These cracks in the machinery are not just physical, they are disturbances in time itself. Someone, or something, has been tampering with the flow of time." Chrono's expression hardens. "The shadow of time," he murmurs. "It has returned." Lyle feels a shiver down his spine. He has heard of the shadow, the ancient force that once threatened the stability of the kingdom. The shadow feeds on instability and chaos, and it seeks to disrupt the delicate balance of time. But Lyle had thought it was gone forever, banished by Mira and Alia. "How do we stop it?" Lyle asks urgently. "You must repair the fractures," Chrono says. "But more importantly, you must find the source of the disturbance. The shadow is subtle. It hides in the cracks and grows stronger with every passing moment. If left unchecked, it will consume everything." Lyle sets off on a mission to find the source of the disturbance. Guided by Tock and Chrono, he journeys deeper into the labyrinth of the kingdom, passing through corridors that seem to stretch forever. The deeper he goes, the more unstable the kingdom feels. The usual hum of the gears has turned into a dissonant noise, as if time itself is out of sync. Along the way, Lyle encounters strange anomalies, places where time seems to freeze or speed up uncontrollably, areas where the shadows of the past flicker into view. He meets the remnants of old guardians, spirits trapped in time's folds, their forms twisted by the shadow's influence. Lyle presses on, determined to find the source and repair the heart. He begins to realize that the heart of time is more than just a physical object. It is a living force that connects the past, present, and future. It holds the memories of every guardian who has ever lived, including Mira and Alia. The heart is a mirror of time itself, and it reflects the choices, regrets, and dreams of those who have passed. As he nears the core of the kingdom, Lyle feels a strong pull in his chest. The heart is calling him, urging him to restore its balance, but the closer he gets, the more he feels the presence of the shadow, whispering to him from the dark corners of time. In the deepest chamber of the kingdom, Lyle faces the shadow of time. It is not a physical being, but a swirling mass of darkness and fragmented memories, twisted by centuries of fear and regret. The shadow speaks in a voice that seems to come from every corner of the kingdom. "You are weak, Guardian," the shadow hisses. "You cannot stop the inevitable. Time is destined to unravel. It is only a matter of time before it consumes you all." Lyle stands firm, his heart racing. "I won't let you destroy what has been built," he says, his voice steady. The shadow laughs, its form shifting like smoke. "You cannot stop time. You cannot stop me. Time is chaos, and it always will be." Lyle feels a surge of energy from the heart of time. With a deep breath, he reaches out, tapping into the power of the kingdom and the knowledge of the guardians who came before him. He speaks the ancient words of restoration, calling upon the heart to heal itself. For a moment, nothing happens. The shadow's laughter fills the air, mocking him. But then, with a brilliant flash of light, the heart of time pulses with energy, its gears turning with renewed strength. The shadow shrieks, its form dissolving into nothingness as time itself realigns. With the shadow defeated, Lyle returns to the heart of time, where Tock and Chrono await. The kingdom is once again stable, and the once jarring sounds of malfunctioning gears are replaced by the harmonious hum of balanced time. Chrono places a hand on Lyle's shoulder. "You have done it," he says, his voice filled with admiration. "You have restored the balance." Lyle smiles, exhausted but proud. He realizes that his journey has only just begun. There will be other challenges, other fractures in time to mend, but for now he has protected the kingdom and time itself. As he stands before the heart of time, Lyle feels a deep connection to all the guardians who came before him. He is not alone in this task. Time flows in a never-ending cycle, and with each guardian, the legacy continues. The kingdom now flourishes in a new era of peace. Time flows freely, both in the kingdom and the human world. The once fractured connection between the two realms is whole again, and the heart of time pulses steadily, echoing the rhythm of the universe. Aaliyah's legacy, passed down to Lyle, is cemented in the hearts of the mechanical beings and the humans who unknowingly carry the influence of the kingdom in their daily lives. The kingdom stood quiet, its once rumbling gears now humming in a steady rhythm. Time had been restored, the heart of time pulsing steadily at the center of the kingdom once again. Lyle stood before it, his heart heavy with both pride and uncertainty. He had succeeded. The shadow was gone, its darkness banished by the very force of the heart. Yet, something lingered. An unspoken truth that he couldn't ignore. For days the kingdom had been peaceful, but Lyle knew that peace was fragile. Time, after all, was not a static force. It ebbed and flowed, always shifting. And though he had repaired the heart, he understood that this was only a temporary fix. Time needed a guardian who would not only protect it, but also guide it. As he stood at the threshold of the great chamber, where the heart of time beat its rhythmic pulse, Tock approached him. The mechanical being's glowing eyes were softer now, as if they held a deeper understanding. "You've done it, Lyle," Tock said. "You've saved the kingdom and mended the cracks in time. You are the guardian now." Lyle glanced down at the watch in his hand, the same one that had led him here. It was no longer just a tool. It had become an extension of himself. He felt the weight of its power, the responsibility it carried, and the connection it forged between the kingdom and the world above. "I don't feel like I've done enough," Lyle admitted, his voice heavy with the weight of everything that had happened. "The shadow is gone, but I don't know if I can keep the kingdom in balance forever." Tock placed a hand on Lyle's shoulder. "It is not about doing enough," Tock said. It's about knowing when to step forward and when to step back. The kingdom doesn't belong to one guardian. It belongs to all who care for it, who understand that time is a delicate dance. Lyle nodded, understanding now what Tock meant. It wasn't about fixing everything. It was about guiding the flow of time and protecting the harmony between the kingdom and the world above. It was a responsibility that he had inherited, not just from his predecessors, but from all those who had come before him. Each guardian had their role, but the kingdom was an ever-changing living entity, and it needed more than just one protector. It needed balance. Chrono stepped forward from the shadows, his movements slower now but still filled with the wisdom of centuries. "You have done more than just save the kingdom," Chrono said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You have learned what it truly means to be a guardian. The heart has chosen you, not because of your strength or knowledge, but because of your understanding of the flow of time itself." Lyle's thoughts drifted to the many trials he had faced, the broken guardians, the shifting time anomalies, the broken connections between the kingdom and the world above. All of them had tested his resolve, and through each test, he had learned more about what it meant to protect not just the kingdom, but the delicate balance between the worlds. "But what about the future?" Lyle asked, his voice unsure. "How do I know that I'm doing the right thing? How do I know that the heart won't falter again?" Chrono's face softened. "The future is not something that can be predicted," he said, "but it is something that can be shaped. The heart of time does not just respond to one person's will. It responds to the collective understanding of those who walk its path. You will not be alone in this task. The kingdom will guide you, and so will the world above. As long as there is time, there will always be those who care for it." Lyle looked down at the heart, its massive gears turning slowly in the center of the chamber, glowing with a soft, steady light. It was a powerful reminder of the delicate nature of time, a constant pulse that connected all things, from the kingdom to the human world above. He now understood that his role was not just about preserving what was. It was about allowing the flow of time to continue, to evolve, and to embrace the changes it would bring. "I'm ready," Lyle said, his voice stronger now. He felt the weight of his role as guardian, but he no longer felt the fear he had once carried. The time had come for him to take his place in this eternal cycle, to walk the path of the guardians before him and shape the future of both the kingdom and the world above. Tock and Chrono stood with him, their expressions filled with pride. "The kingdom is in good hands," Chrono said softly. "But remember, Lyle, you are more than a guardian of time. You are its keeper, its protector. You will keep the balance between the two worlds. And though time may always be shifting, you will remain its steady pulse." With one final glance at the heart of time, Lyle took a deep breath. He felt the bond between the kingdom and the human world solidify within him. He understood now that his journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, unseen cracks in time, disturbances and moments of doubt, but he was no longer afraid. He had the strength to face whatever came next. He was ready to guide time, to protect the balance that connected all things. As Lyle turned to leave the great chamber, he heard the soft ticking of the heart, a reminder that his journey had only just begun. The kingdom was his responsibility now, and he would protect it with all his heart. The flow of time would continue, and Lyle would be its steady hand, its protector, and its keeper. He walked out of the chamber, the path before him lit by the soft glow of the ancient cogs, ready to face whatever the future held. With the heart of time pulsing in rhythm with his own, Lyle knew that the kingdom was safe, and so was the world above. The cycle of time would continue as it always had, and Lyle, the guardian of time, would watch over it,